Well, for a little bit more on this, we're now joined by Professor Erwin Schwella, who's the Dean of the School of Social Innovation at the Hugenote College. Thanks so much indeed for joining us and welcome to the program.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So we have a very confident DA leader. Is his optimism well-founded?
I think so. He's leading the party into an election which is soon to come. And in that process, he has built up some experience now as the party leader after having succeeded the previous party leader. And what he has been doing essentially is to focus the party on what the ideology of the party is and the policies of the party are, and in that way to consolidate in some ways the party. You will remember that after the previous elections, when the Democratic Alliance lost a lot of support, there was the idea that the party had actually, as Mr. Steenhuisen said himself, like a jelly reverberated in all kinds of directions. So we will have to see whether that consolidation then carries through and gets him to be elected. May I also say one thing that is sure is that the election will not be dealt with in terms of brown envelopes probably and money from the boot of cars. It will be dealt with as a very contested democratic election.
I suppose the power of incumbency helps, but being party leader, you're almost auditioning for the job and you've got a stage to prove your case to everybody. Do you think he's done enough to say to voters that should the DA get enough votes, I could even be president of this country?
That is, of course, a difficult one in the sense that the country is a particularly complex political context, in the sense that also that in this country there are still indications of people voting, but like they did pre-democracy in terms of the primary affiliations, whether it's linked to language, race, and other cultural dimensions. However, Mr. Steenhuisen, as he has been going along, has at least created some form of coherence in the party in terms of its ideology and its policy programs. And that then means that I believe that in most cases, the party members will rally behind him. I must also say that probably Dr. Mpho Palatse, who is an excellent candidate, will be a good runner-up, and she will probably also, given what she has said so far, remain in the party. And then there's a build-up in terms of creating a set of leaders. The DA also leads in a collective, and in that way, you know, the diversity of the party will be then strengthening his hand, but I do believe that he will be elected.
I suppose the diehards and the faithful will remain true to what they've supported all along. But there are people coming in, people turning 18 for the first time over time, and they have to make up their mind about who they vote for. And I just wonder if he's been able to do enough to clean up the image of the DA. He's acknowledged that the party was in a state when he picked it up. And also there's been this lingering perception that the DA is a white party.
Yeah, which in a certain sense is a counterintuitive perception, because and I'm not a member of the DA, and I don't necessarily analyze in terms of personal preferences. However, if you really look at it in terms of just the state of transformation, if transformation is about representativity, which it seems to be only about, although the Constitution wants to lead us into transformation also being about professionalism, effectiveness, as well as representativity and integrity, then in many ways the DA is at least visibly the most diverse party in the country. In actual fact, President Ramaphosa has said that there's got to be a serious effort by the ANC to become more diverse again. Now, that type of perception is not only dealt with by means of the images that you see on television, it's also dealt with in terms of a set of attitudes which is not only determined by the party itself, it's also determined by the opposition. And the opposition, in this case the ANC and other parties, have been very effective in that way picturing the DA as a white party. And in actual fact, if you just look at the diversity of the party in terms of the numbers and the pictures, the party is probably more diverse than other parties. It may be that the attitudes are still, as it were, linked to a sense of whiteness. That, of course, will be in some ways used by the ANC and the other black parties, who seemingly are more black now, and they will taint the DA with that. But essentially, if you really look at it, the DA is the most diverse party in the country.
Do you think he's asserted his authority in the DA, and that he genuinely is the man in charge, and that he's managed to manage even powerful people like Helen Zille, who some in the past may have accused of sometimes meddling?
Zille is a political phenomenon, and she has a particular way of dealing with politics, which in some ways is very effective, and then also can create, in some instances, serious issues. It seems as if she is trying very hard to stick to her lane. She doesn't always succeed in that. And Mr. Steenhuisen somehow has a way of dealing with that. Remember also, as I've said, the DA works with a dispersed leadership. There are other leaders which are important. I sometimes think that the role of Dr. Ivan Meyer, the federal chairperson, is underestimated in dealing with some of these, shall we say, divisions in the DA. The DA also has divisions, maybe not as strongly positioned as factions, but Mr. Steenhuisen seems to be in charge, generally in charge, and that's the best you can hope for in politics. You know, in politics also, the old saying is that your opposition sits across from you, your real enemies are behind your back.
All right, so I'm just wondering now, going forward, what kind of message will he need to be spreading to the faithful in blue so that they feel confident that this is the man to take us to the next chapter? Because what we know for sure, or we speculate, is we're definitely going into coalition eras going forward now, and that the DA will always have a good hand in those kinds of politics. But has he proved that in an era of coalitions that he can lead? Because there have been some collapses, spectacular ones in the big metros.
Well, some of the collapses in the spectacular ones in the big metros is also about a lot of political dynamics, which makes it very difficult to deal with coalitions. In actual fact, I believe that the DA is currently very much pitching at the bad governance and the corruption in the other parties, and they should actually be in many ways showcasing their own policies, which is a form of, interestingly enough, social market economics, a form of link to constitutionalism, and to support that. And they should, of course, be an opposition criticizing, because there's lots to criticize. But they should perhaps come out more clearly with their alternative, and I think they should emphasize that into the next election, also for their own members who actually may not understand that. They are a party which claims non-racialism. It's a democratic party, constitutional party. It links to the German system of the social market, and they should pitch that to the electorate. On coalitions are not the preferred approach of political parties, but it might be the preferred approach for a country like South Africa, so that we don't have that very dynamic, which is the majority rules, it also gives opportunities for other voices. And if we don't have spoilers, then it could actually be a good thing. It could become something like a party sharing power. And if they serve the people, that could be good. If they serve the party only, that's a problem. I am currently in a position where I am constructing a course for coalition leadership, and I've got a lot of support from a number of parties. We must make coalitions work, and I think Mr. Steenhuisen and all of the other parties realize that. I had discussions with the ANC and other parties, and we realize that coalitions are the future, and we must make them work and not spoil just for the purposes of retaining power and not delivering services to the people. That would be destructive.
Okay, Professor Schwella, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you for your time, your insights, greatly appreciated tonight. Thank you.
It's been a privilege. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, that's Professor Erwin Schwella, who's the Dean of the School of Social Innovation at Hugenote College, talking to us about the race which is on for the DA leadership and other positions in the party. They're having their Congress this weekend. And a very buoyant and confident John Steenhuisen is confident that he'll continue to lead his party.